Listen, if you can, let's sit down. We're going to get started. Everybody, please sit down. We'll get started. The way we conduct meetings is going to be short and sweet. The way we conduct meetings is short and sweet. So today is basically an introductory session. We can just introduce the parade. Usually some of these meetings start later. We started earlier. As a matter of fact, we started with some of the committees a few months ago, actually, starting to talk about forming the committees, because what we want to do is get in a race and start running, do what we have to do early. We'll have a meeting every couple of weeks. In between, we'll have committee meetings, which are different than public meetings, but we'll try to do the public meetings every 2 weeks, and the committee meetings in between if we can, because we have a lot of work to do, because we have a lot of interesting things that we're going to do this year. So tonight I'm just going to briefly introduce it, talk about what the themes of the parade are, and also introduce the vice chairman of the parade. And the following session will discuss the committees, who's on the committee, who's chairing the committees, and what the committees are doing. And we're going to discuss not only the parade and the events around the parade, but what we're going to do this year is have events all year, which I'll describe in a second. So let me get started. Okay, so as chairman of this coming year's parade, I am deeply honored by the trust placed in me by members of the Federation on all sides, and thank our Vice Chairman, George Venizelos, George Paralemos, who's here? Is George here? No? Okay. George Mendasis. George, raise your hand, one of our Vice Chairmen. And of course, John Stubakis. John, raise your hand. And all the amazing volunteers on the various committees. And they all do fantastic things, and they are the backbone of the parade. Not me, not the vice chairs, because we're just doing what we have to do, but the committees are the backbone of this parade. So I'd like us to shout out to the committee members, and again, the committees will meet next week. We'll start announcing what the committees are all about in 2 weeks, but let's shout out Oxy! Oxy! Okay. We as a united group are energized and committed to delivering an unforgettable celebration of Hellenism. Our summer working committees organization meetings have given us a strong start towards making the Greek Independence Day Parade 2026 scheduled for Sunday, April 26th, a landmark year in our shared Hellenic and American 205-250 story. I'll describe what I mean by 205-250 in a little bit later. The New York parade continues to be the largest parade of Greek independence in the world outside of the Hellenic Republic. Okay, with that, let's get the first slide. First slide. Okay. Okay, so let me go over the major themes of what this year's parade is all about. This coming year, 2026, is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Okay, so it's a very, very significant year. Okay, so this particular year, what we're going to do is we're going to honor the 250th anniversary, or commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Hellenic Republic, or the Hellenic Revolution, not Republic, and the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, highlighting the deep historical and philosophical connections and linkages, not lineage, between the two nations, themed 205-250. 205 meaning the Hellenic Revolution, 250 meaning the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. First theme, other themes. It's the 250th anniversary next year of the birth of Yannis Kapodistrias, the first head of state of independent Hellas. And what we'll do, separate occasion, we'll have a discussion on Yannis Kapodistrias, because he was one of the most amazing individuals in all the history of Hellas. We also have the 200th anniversary this coming year of the fall of Messaloniki in 1826, a pivotal and heroic episode in the Greek War of Independence. The fall of Messaloniki affected Europe in an unbelievable way, and many actually volunteered after that fall to help us. What we also want to do, because many times we think of this as being a Greek parade, but you have to understand, when the revolution took place, it was an international event. It wasn't just a local event. It was a local event, but it was an international event. And many countries, not necessarily their countries, because their countries were really not with the revolution, because it was a post-Napoleonic period, and no one wanted to side with any people who were doing a revolution. The nations of Europe basically were with the Ottomans, just to understand. However, the individuals from these nations, they came to a loss in many cases. Either they gave money or they came to a loss, and some of them fought and died. So we have to honor them in this particular parade that's happening. So in order to honor them, what we're going to do is we're going to invite all the council generals of all the different nations, of people who came to Elas to fight in the Hellenic Revolution. This includes, of course, America. It includes, of course, England. It includes, of course, France. It includes, of course, Germany. It includes, of course, Switzerland. It includes also Haiti, which was the first nation to support and actually recognize the revolution. In addition, because it's the 250th anniversary of America, and we are Americans of Hellenic descent in America. Some of us are born, obviously, in Elas. Some are born in America, but we are Hellenic Americans, and we're American citizens. Remember that. So this parade is not only about Greeks and a Greek parade. This is and represents what took place a long time ago. This is an international event, and what we want to do for next year is elevate this parade. And with that, I have to say that the Council General, who I did have lunch with on Friday, I had mentioned that I did to her before, and she will help us also to reach out for the various Council Generals of the different nations here in New York. And as a matter of fact, she volunteered to also have an event where we go to and we anti-consulate, and we basically have that discussion with them and actually call out and talk about the history, because many of these people, by the way, don't know the history of their own nations. They don't know what took place by their own people during the revolution. So we're going to go into those items for them also. To the extent that we said that we are Americans, and to the extent that we've been here for a long period of time, what we want to do on 205, 250 is to recognize by profession, recognize that profession within the United States of America. And what we're going to do for that is the professional societies who I've spoken to will work with us, whether it's the lawyers, whether it's the accountants, whatever they are in terms of organizations, HABA, etc. And we're going to ask them to select one individual. They select, we don't select. One individual that will honor, not that individual, but honor for them their profession. Okay, so the lawyers will pick a lawyer, the doctors will pick a doctor, and that person will represent their profession in the United States of America, because again, 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and of course the 250th anniversary of Hellenic independence. Okay. These are the key dates of the major events that everybody knows about. Okay. The parade we're slated for April 26th, and let me explain what that means. The city, we have put in the documentation for April 26th. The city itself doesn't make a decision until the beginning of the year. Typically they select whatever date you give them, and we feel confident that will be the date, but I had to mention what I mentioned. The gala, of course, will be the day before, Bowling Green the day before that, and obviously we're going to have the breakfast on the day of the parade. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. But as I indicated, we're not going to have just these events that typically take place. We're going to have events all year. So let me go through some of these events that we're going to have, and some of these events that are very important to what we're doing. Okay. The first one is a Yanis Kapodisvias movie. Okay, and that movie will premiere in New York. There's obviously the seating is limited, so not all of us will be able to attend. But Yanis Smaragdis has been making this movie called The Governor, and it will premiere in New York at the end of November. So I consider that event as part of what we're doing again all year. Then a very important event, the Sail to Freedom boat event to the Statue of Liberty. And this is part of the 205, 250. And what we want to do in this particular situation is go back to the historical ways we used to do parades. In New York, the first parade, which was in 1893, what they used to do, and beyond, what they used to do is have church services, because March 25th is an Orthodox, very important holiday. So what we're going to do on that event is we're going to have a church service. Hopefully, I'm going to attempt to get it at St. Nicholas. And then what we're going to do, hopefully, again, we don't know. We're going to try to go to the marina nearby and go with the boats basically to the Statue of Liberty and have various events. I did speak also to the Consul General about that, and she was very enthused about that particular event. Now, the person who did the first Sail to Freedom and the person who's in charge of this particular thing, because it's branded and it's hers, is Eva Plak. Eva, stand up. Okay, stand up. Okay. So let me tell you what we did with Eva. You can sit down now. Let me tell you what we did with Eva. If you remember, when we had COVID in New York, they did not allow us to have parades. Not only us, but anybody to have parades. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to be, the year before in 2020, I was supposed to be the chairman or co-chairman of the Greek Independence Day parade, but it was canceled. Okay, it was canceled. So when the 200th anniversary came about and we weren't going to have a parade, Eva stepped up and created the Sail to Freedom. The Sail to Freedom. What we did is we said, and I helped her, helped sponsor it also, and what we did in that particular thing for the 200th anniversary is we said, you know what, the city is stopping us, they're not letting us parade, but we're going to have a parade. So it was it was the largest, most amazing international event around the Hellenic Revolution. Millions of people actually saw it over videos and all the rest of that. It was a global event, and it was absolutely fantastic. And by the way, Eva, you should spread the video again, because that video is absolutely amazing of what took place during that time period. So I regard that as a major event, and Eva, of course, will be leading that charge. Okay, the other thing is when we had Maestro Spiro Kardanis, when they did a repertoire of his particular works, 50 years or whatever, I said at the end of the event to Spiro, create a composition specifically for this parade that relates to America and relates to Elas. Okay, so he has basically produced it. I will be meeting with him to discuss, and that itself is going to be something monumental and different for this particular parade. The next thing is we want to do, for the first time in the United States, we want to do the Marcos Botsaris opera in its entirety. It has never been performed in its entirety in the United States of America. As a matter of fact, the last time before 2022, when it was played in Patra, the last time it was done before that was in the 1930s in Athens. Okay, this particular opera was of Marcos Botsaris, was composed in 1857, And it was by the Hellenic composer Pavlos Carrere, who was from Zakynthos. Okay, his premiere was in Padra in 1861. Now, I did speak also to the Council General about this particular thing. And the Council General basically said that the New York Opera had approached her and asked her if we could do something together. So I'm going to be meeting with the Council General and the New York Opera to have a discussion to see if we can do it together, meeting with Hellenic opera singers and also the New York Opera, and to have it in a great venue. Now, this particular event is going to be very expensive. So that's why we're also forming a separate group that will raise the money for this opera, not to interfere at all with the money that's being raised in the parade. But this is going to be a major, major event that we're considering right now. And I'll get back to you if I know more details, etc. And I hope to pull it off. And there are people who approached me, not from the New York area, but actually nationally, and said, what can we do for you to help you? I'm talking about significant people to help raise money, and we're going to try to raise money for this particular opera. And I'm going to mention it. I don't know if it'll happen because I don't know what the Greek government is going to do. But the Council General said this is something that I believe that the Hellenic government will also contribute some money towards. But we're not going to believe it until we see it, until we see the euros come in. So we're gonna try to raise the money ourselves if we can. Okay. In addition, we're going to have a cocktail hour to honor the grand marshals and the different nation representatives and those who supported the revolution. That one I'm going to sponsor myself. Again, that has nothing to do with taking away funds from the parade. We want to get together dance groups. We want to get dance groups, and I call it a competition, but it's not a competition. What we have to do is get the dance groups together from the tri-state area and perform the various dances of the Hellenic people, which is a very important thing. We're going to discuss, we have a chairman for that. I won't discuss chairmen tonight, but I'll describe the committees in a second. The other thing we want to do is have a Hellenic street fair in Manhattan. I know you've had a Hellenic street fair in Queens, but none has taken place in Manhattan, but obviously we want to do that. Of course, we're going to have a Miss Independence Day competition again. And of course, we're going to restart the panel discussions around the revolution. Okay, so we have an education committee that was put together, which is going to include Dr. Constantine Hatzidimitriou, our friend over here, Mr. Alexiou, Professor Alexiou. We also have Billy. Where's Billy? Billy will be joining us, Chrysochos. And what we're going to do is put a series of lectures around the revolution. What we'll try to do is have them earlier, even though I know no one shows up. We'll have them earlier, but we'll have them taped so they can be shown, so people can understand not only what the revolution was about, but what are we talking about when we talk about 205 and 250? What is the linkage between these two nations? How did the Hellenic Revolution affect the American abolitionist movement? How did the Hellenic Revolution affect the women's suffrage movement in America? These are things that people normally don't know about, okay, but we're going to discuss them. How did the Hellenic merchants who were in New York, Charleston, New Orleans, and part of the cotton trade prior to the Civil War of the United States, who affected the Civil War of the United States, when they took cotton that was coming from the South, and everybody thought cotton was king, and that England would not remain neutral but go with the South, and how the Greek merchants, the Greek cotton merchants in the United States, basically went to Alexandria and India for cotton and basically helped to change what happened in the American Civil War. These are just some of the things, okay? Because many people don't understand the relationship between the two countries over time. Obviously, I have to mention it because this is October. Orchid Day. Orchid Day was not only a Hellenic event, it was an international event, and it was very important also in the United States of America. Okay, so we'll continue then. We talked about honoring the various professional societies based on a representative from their particular societies. The Mesolongian Theater Group is coming into New York. We'll get a little bit more details about that, but they're going to perform also in New York. We have the radio telethon that we're going to be doing for the parade. We have, of course, the 77 WABC, John Katsos' station, where every year he does a Greek Independence Day show. I'd like to do, here, we can do it here, by the way. I'd like to do a traditional Hellenic costumes event. Okay, we have different costumes from different regions, and then we have a lecture where people talk about the different costumes, what are they all about, what was the symbolism, and all the rest of that. Okay. In addition, other events, as they develop and will be announced by various Federation member organizations, they will have their own events for the next year. What we want to do is piggyback on their events. So if they have events, we want to support their events, obviously, as we go along. Okay, let me mention something about the committees. As it regards to the committees, we will have the committee meeting next week here, just the committees. And what we want to do is get the word out. We want volunteers to join the committees. I'll just give you we have some of the chairs, but I'll just give you the names of the committees, okay? So we have a finance committee, we have an EPSO committee, we have external affairs committee, we have the professional Hellenic organizations committee, we have the general committee, we have the raffles committee, we have the gala committee, Bowling Green committee, traffic control committee, stands committee, marketing committee, public relations committee, media committee, okay? And we have, of course, the Sail to Freedom. It's not really a committee because that's Eva's particular event, but we're piggybacking on that. The Cocktail Hour Committee, I'm basically sponsoring the Cocktail Hour Committee. And we said the Hellenic Dance Committee. Let's see what we got. We've got the Cultural Committee, Special Events Committee, Education Committee, Young Professional and Young Adults Committee, Hybrid Technology Committee. And there's our chair, Dean, stand up. No, don't stand up because you're recording this. Okay. Dean is right now live streaming this particular event. Okay, so this is going to be on YouTube. Anybody can watch it who didn't attend. And what we're going to do is live stream every event that we have here, not the committee events, because those are different, those are working sessions, but all the public meetings we'll have. And then we have the Hellenic Federation of New Jersey Parade Committee. And then we have Karaskakis. Where's Karaskakis? Is he here? Yanni. Yanni, are you from the famous family from the northern Taietos of Messina?
Yes.
Okay. This particular family, you see Yanni over here, he looks a little humble. Yanni comes from a very, very prominent family. One of the finest works that have ever been written about the Moria. Okay, the Travels of the Moria. Have you heard about this? The Travels of the Moria, which was written in the early 1800s. It's probably the most famous work relating to Elas during that period under Ottoman occupation. Okay, in one scene of the Travels of the Moria, the particular colonel, who was an English guy who wrote the book, he was going to go from Kalamata, actually, and his original thing was to go through the Taietos, to go to the other side. However, in the Travels of the Moria, they warned him, do not go through the mountains of the northern Taietos because there's a family there, the Nikolopoulos family, and you better watch out. This is a true story, by the way. I wanted you to know that. Bravo, Sinikoyen. Yes. He will, of course, be dressed as Karaskakis. Okay, we call him Karaskakis. Karaskakis was from what they call the Iskos family. They call him Karaskakis, but he was really Iskos. He's from the Iskos family. And the Iskos family were Armatoli. The Armatoli were not, they varied between Kleftis and Armatoli, but understand, the Armatoli were hereditary chieftains, okay, that the Turks specifically had guarding mountain paths. And the reason why they guarded the mountain paths and they had the Greeks to be armed, which they didn't allow Hellenes to be armed, was because they could not control the mountains. So they had to control the mountain passes. With that, we have Father Boris with us, and he will say a few words. So what do I say to you? We're going to have a great parade. Thank you for coming here. Father Boris.
Καλησπέρα σας, καλή αρχή. Ξέρω ότι έχει φύγει το καλοκαίρι γιατί είμαι εδώ μαζί σας και είναι πάρα πολύ κρύο έξω και πάει το καλοκαίρι. Αλλά είμαστε εδώ και πάλι και βλέπουμε μπροστά μας στην παρέλαση που θα γίνει και πάλι. Θέλω απόψε να σας δώσω την ευλογία του Αρχιεπισκόπου μας, ο κύριος Ελπιδοφόρος, και είναι μεγάλη μας χαρά, όπως πάντα, να είμαστε εδώ και να έχουμε ως οι Αρχιεπισκοποί και φέτος τη μεγάλη ευθύνη των ευζώνων και να κάνουμε ό,τι μπορούμε με τον chairman της Επιτροπής, ο Πέτρος Βλήτας, που ήταν εδώ αλλά είχε φύγει. Και θα προσπαθούμε να κάνουμε το καλύτερο, όπως κάνουμε κάθε χρόνο με το γραφείο του Προέδρου της Ελλάδος και όπως κάνουμε κάθε χρόνο να φέρουμε τους ευζώνους εδώ και να έχουμε για την παρέλαση. I want to say a few words in English as well, just so that you know my Greek, so I don't confuse. We are very happy to be here this year for the parade, and I want to reiterate for those who did not see. Last week, His Eminence welcomed the Lou at the Archdiocese, along with Nomiki and Dimo and Dimitri and George. And they had a meeting and they went over all of these very beautiful things. And His Eminence very clearly said, this is great. Before this happens, please have elections. The Archdiocese stance is that elections must happen immediately. It is enough with the division. It is enough with the separation. This has been going on for 4 years, and we have fallen into a state where it has become the norm. And it is a crisis. It is a crisis for the Homogenia in New York. His Eminence very plainly and bluntly said to the members that were there, please, before all this, have elections. It is not the Archdiocese's place to force these things, of course. It is our suggestion. It is His Eminence feeling the pain of the people and calling upon the leaders to move forward for elections. That being said, no matter what happens, we will be here side by side with you, supporting the parade, getting the word out to the 60% of the parade participants who come from the parishes and from the youth groups and from the parochial schools. We will continue to get the word out to all of those people about the good work of the parade so that we can continue to have the biggest and the best parade in the United States. Thank you very much.
We did have those words, by the way, and the Archbishop said to me, look, what do you think? And I said specifically that it will not happen, Your Eminence. We will not get together before the next parade. And for these meetings, we will absolutely not discuss two sides or whatever. This is the parade committee. We're here only to discuss the parade. If anyone wants to discuss some other issues, they can discuss them separately, but not at these meetings. It's not going to happen. With that, I'd like to introduce the Council of the Hellenic Republic, who's here with us today.
Ευχαριστώ, Λου. Ευχαριστώ σε όλους σας εδώ και χαίρομαι πολύ που είμαι μαζί σας σήμερα. Τώρα που αρχίζουμε αυτό το μεγάλο δρόμο προς την παρέλαση, βλέπω έχετε πολλά φιλόδοξα σχέδια, νομίζω ότι τα έχετε συζητήσει και με τη Γενική Πρόξενο. Εμείς φυσικά όπου μπορούμε θέλουμε να σας βοηθήσουμε. Είναι μια πολύ σημαντική επέτειο, όπως ανέφερε ο Λου, τα 250 χρόνια της Αμερικής από την προκήρυξη της ανεξαρτησίας, από τα 250 χρόνια της δικιάς μας επανάστασης. Οπότε είναι, νομίζω, μια ευκαιρία τώρα να δείξουμε πόσο σημαντικά είναι, πόσο δεμένη είναι οι δύο λαοί μας, πόσο δεμένη είναι η ιστορία μας. Οπότε ελπίζω να είναι μια αξέχαστη παρέμβαση και θα είμαστε εκεί μαζί σας να σας στηρίζουμε όπου μπορούμε. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Okay, with that, I'd like to introduce two of our vice chairs who are here to say a few words. We'll start with Judge Katsos.
Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Όσοι δεν με ξέρετε, ονομάζομαι Γιώργος Μεϊντάσης. Είναι μεγάλη μου τιμή που με επέλεξε ο Ηλίας για να είμαι συμπρόεδρος στην παρέλαση 2026. Τον Ηλία τον ξέρω περί τα 10 χρόνια από τον ΑΧΕΠΑ και έχουμε κάνει και διοργανώσει μαζί πάρα πολλά events. Προέρχομαι από το νησί της Ύδρας και όλοι ξέρετε και γνωρίζετε για την επανάσταση το τι προσέφερε η Ύδρα και είναι ο μοναδικός τόπος που είχε τον πρώτο πρόεδρο της Δημοκρατίας και 7 πρωθυπουργούς μαζί με 35 βουλευτές. Και δώσαμε όλοι μας το στόλο για την επανάσταση. Αυτό που θέλω να πω είναι ό,τι και να μας χωρίζει εδώ πέρα, η παρέλαση δεν πρέπει ποτέ να χαθεί από την Ομοσπονδία. Ούτε σε καμία άλλη διοικητική αρχή, ούτε σε κανένα άλλο σύνδεσμο. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Our other fantastic Vice Chairman, John Stubakis. John.
Καλησπέρα σε όλους. First of all, thank you, Lou, for the amazing task that you took on to be chairman of this very tiring but very rewarding parade. Thank you. He needs a round of applause. First of all, he did the floors. I almost didn't recognize where I walked in. They were, he did the nice and stand to the floor. The place looks beautiful. But thank you for choosing me to be by your side to work along with the 3 Gs, George Paralamos, George Meidasis, George Venizelos. My name could technically be G too, right? And that's with a Y. Yeah, so 4 Gs. All right, so we're going to work very well together with both sides, all sides. You know, you guys are doing all the heavy lifting. We're just here to guide you. All the co-chairs are going to oversee the committees. We need plenty of volunteers. Bring your friends, bring your family, and we're looking to have another successful parade. Thank you very much.
Again, speaking about the committees, we're going to meet here next week. We'll send out notices, etc. We'd like more volunteers for some of these committees. Not everybody can become a chair. I know we all want to be chieftains. I know we all want to be chair people or whatever. But what we need is this. We need people who can donate time. We need people who can donate money, just as important. You know, we need people also that bring their prestige to this parade. So it's very important we work together. And so far, it's been magnificent, by the way. We've worked so well together. And I have very good feelings about this particular parade. So thank you, and we're honored to be here. With that, some closing prayers from Father.
Διευχών των Αγίων Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς. Αμήν. Καλή αρχή.